At that time, it was not really a regular occurrence for us to visit this office, but we already included this office in our radar to pray.
ASEC, that was a time when you were about to run for mayor.
Yes, election was coming, and so I asked the pastors, how long do you pray? And they told me that 20 minutes per office. Double it, because I like to run for mayor.
And there was a time, Coylee, that when it was almost election time, we made a prophetic gesture. We collected some offerings, so whoever will win will not lack any funding, or financial needs. Well, as always, most of them were coins. So what did you do with those coins?
I put it in a red bag, a small ampaw bag.
Ampaw bag.
I put it on my altar. It's an offering symbolic of your assistance.
So it reminds you that we are there to pray for your administration.
When I began as mayor already, I saw the huge problem that the city was experiencing. We had 1 billion peso debt with the bank. So we had to think of ways to be able to pay, and go ahead and have more funds to be able to have projects and sustain the projects for services. We noticed that the Lord was giving me a lot of siguro in my thoughts that itong gawin mo, this is what you do, this, do that. And one of them is digitalize. So I can explain later on.
As you were noticing improvements, you gave the pastors a room.
There was a waiting room in my office. There were 2 actually. So sabi ko, why don't you stay in this small room? It's more enclosed than the other one, so you could concentrate. And I would put seats there so that the visitors, while waiting, the pastors would talk to them. So they don't notice the passing of time.
And then they were praying in the morning, 1 hour.
In the morning, yeah, preferably before office starts, so that God will be welcome in the City Hall and God can do this meeting of all the needs of the employees and everybody inside the City Hall, including the business owners as they come in the City Hall. And we could really see a change in the spiritual climate.
What was the change that you noticed?
Number one, we noticed some of our friends said that their Chinese businessmen, their friends, started to pay their taxes. Out of nowhere, they said, oh, we realize we need to pay and we need to help the City Hall. Number two, our friends, the ones assigned by Mayor June at that time, they were even offered bribes, huge bribes like BMW cars and 1 million peso just to get away with their deficiencies. But these 2 guys rejected the offer and they said, no, we cannot do that. This is a city of God. So that was really a huge change, and I believe that contributed to the increase in the income of the City Hall. It became fourfold because people now realize they can no longer do the usual, trying to evade tax payments.
When I went there one time to transact business, I found that the people were helpful and smiling, and they were service-oriented. And now that I connected dots, I would assume it was because of all the prayers that was going on.
Definitely, because the employees would notice that we are prayerful and started in the mayor's office. So they felt the feeling we really have to transform into a service-oriented institution.
It's a big leap from a month before you can get your permit to 30 minutes or half day.
We thought that we have to change the culture of the people here in the city hall. Hindi yung masungit, like you said, they have to be helpful, always smiling, and helping out whenever they can, without any under the table.
Yun ang notice ko, wala akong bilingi.
And without any under the table requests.
Well, there's a picture of ASEC June and his brother Roland. They pasted this signboard, no pictures allowed. So practically all these pictures will be eliminated inside the city hall.
We wanted Parañaque to be the model city, a model city in the Philippines. So ano na yung mga model cities na yun na nandyan lahat ng services, and all the infrastructures are there, maintenance, and people are healthy, there's education, there's livelihood, there's peace and order, and there's services for everybody, including the senior citizens. So, having said that, underlying all these things must be the divine providence. Calling for the divine providence to help us through. Inherited mountains of garbage on the streets.
Tons.
They inherited also a water problem.
Yes.
Those were terrible days, and you can see the garbage nakakalat, nakakalas, no, sa main roads. Yeah.
And then the pothole.
There are potholes because of the leachate from the garbage dripping on the asphalt road, and it
Created
melts.
the holes, yeah.
It melts the asphalt. So
Thanks be to God, I think when ASEC June took over slowly, they were all changed and beautified together with this white mountain.
Yung sidewalks ninyo, yung pagkatapos yung drainage
Yeah,
ninyo.
waiting sheds.
And then your public market ninyo.
Yes, full buildings will be built for the children, plus the housing for the poor. Left and
We
right.
are very proud of that housing.
8 elementary and high
Yeah.
schools. And then there was the PUP, Parañaque.
Oh yes,
Correct.
college.
We
Never.
built.
Satellite campus.
Yeah, we built four-story school buildings where there was none. No? Because there are some places, there are some schools there that are already existing, and then say one mayor would come and make additional buildings. I would spread the elementary schools and high schools around Parañaque, so that the children would not spend on transportation anymore. They would just walk and come home anytime. Plus the fact that we were able to avoid conflict among fraternities. So in each school there are fraternities, and they would fight and sometimes kill each other. If you spread the students around, you know, there would be less people, less population on the school, and
Yeah.
thank God there was not much trouble.
Yeah. There was a high school there, Coylee, that on the average is 105 plus students per classroom.
Parañaque Municipal High School alone was 20,000 population. The
Yes.
biggest in the Philippines at that time, our highest population. We built a lot of health centers, brought in more medicines, more doctors, more nurses in the barangays. Built the emergency building, hospital emergency building, 4-story, with new equipment, more doctors, air conditioned, and we planned for a 6-story building, which we started, and well, we had it bidded out already, and just before my term, they started building. Ngayon, now it's finished. We already have a 6-story building in Parañaque. They call it now Hospital ng Parañaque. Covered courts.
Yeah, we were one of the recipients. We're so happy with that.
And then it's also helped to climate change. People were playing basketball.
Yeah.
Kids were playing basketball
Yeah.
under the sun, and then now there's too much sun in the Philippines, so covered court for them. Plus other functions of the subdivision, the village.
And then the fact that they could play sports there took them off the streets. no?
Yes,
So
and
it
from
was
drugs
less-
also.
From drugs also.
Juvenile delinquency less.
Let's see, discipline.
Oo.
We built a 4-story city jail. No? Kasi in the old one, it could only contain 100 prisoners. So when we built that 4-story, it was already capable of welcoming 2,000 PDLs or persons
Deprived of liberty.
deprived of liberty. Yun. So we were joking about it. That there's 900 people in the 100 capacity jail. So how would you sleep? How would you sleep?
Shifting.
The first shift sleeps, the second shift stands up, and the third shift is hung on the wall.
That was, but with the new city jail facilities, they're like in a dormitory.
Now, I'm here in DILG. I heard from the generals here who are now involved in the Bureau of Jail and Management program that the Parañaque model of building that jail is now the topic of their seminars and how a city could help the country have its own city jail, modern, clean. We were the model. There's 17 municipalities, cities and municipalities in Metro Manila. And thank God, as far as peace and order is concerned, we were number 6. There's, of course, there would be some petty crimes, but being in number 6 among the most peaceful cities, happy lang kami doon. We're happy kasi dati kasi we were down below close to number 17 It's a big jump.
The police force were given ample support, like vehicles, and they were also welcoming prayers inside their precincts, so that helped out. Like there was a major case, the victim was carnapped in Muntinlupa, then she was raped in Las Piñas, and the body was thrown in Parañaque City Hall. So during the flag ceremony, the chief police said, "This is really terrible. How can we solve this?" But we said, well, God knows who did it. So when we prayed, 3 days later, St. John, they caught the perpetrator sa Baguio. So I think that spiritual climate will help a lot in the peace and order also in the city.
I remember attending one flag ceremony and there was prayer also. Somebody led a prayer.
That's the job of Pastor Fred,
Pastor Fred.
the spiritual development consultant appointed on ASEC June. Official capacity.
Why? Yes, that's why. Why did you do that? Why
Why
did
did I
you
do that?
yes, appoint somebody?
Yun nga, I want to really have a continuity. No? Kasi sometimes all people are busy, all the pastors go to their own congregation, so might as well appoint someone who's going to be like a chaplain, like a chaplain in a camp. So we have one chaplain there who visit us every day and give us some Bible passages on during Mondays.
You also lit up the streets, right?
Right.
Because
It's dark.
evil tribes in darkness.
Correct.
Mm.
Evil tribes in anonymity.
Oh.
So yun. We put a lot of street lights along Dr. Santos Avenue on the main avenues. So we feel that the crime rate has gone down, and it has, certainly has. Every time we would have a city peace and order council meeting, we would get reports that it's getting lower and lower crime rates. Yeah.
And then the other thing that you did was siguro like sila Pastor Quinto, you gathered the different pastors of the area, and then you try to teach them about transformation so that everybody will be on the same page.
We usually hold our annual like anniversary celebration attended by these pastors, maybe including the employees and other members of the church, and that's where we catch yung vision that it's not about religion, it's about developing the city as a whole, because we live in that city. So we have a movement, what we call the My City, God City movement, and we always remind at the time Mayor John that he is our senior pastor because he's the father of the city.
Yes, I remember that behind your desk, Parañaque City, dedicated to God.
Yes.
The seal of the city.
Yes. That's part of the seal of the city.
You were the first in the Philippines.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that has inspired many countries around the world that they can do the same, because although there's separation of church and state, but in our preamble, there's no separation between God and the state. We implore the aid of Divine Almighty, and I think that's a sign that even the evil forces are aware that you cannot do anything in the city because the city belongs to God.
One of the signs of transformation is the elimination of systemic poverty. Di ba, Pastor Kim? So you actually set about to increase the livelihood of the people.
Oh yes, it's a priority. Besides having a livelihood department where we would train our constituents in batches, like 600 people at a time, ang graduation na. Very tuloy-tuloy. So every 3 months we would graduate about 600 people on dressmaking, on computer science, beauty, how to do manicure, all that stuff, cooking. And then the other part is being friendly with business. So they would invest in the city, meaning let's not give them a lot of paperwork, a lot of requirements. Let's simplify business licensing, and let's do away from asking money for the papers for the services rendered. So in fact, we're very proud that we were the ones who approved the casinos. There could be a moral issue, but from the standpoint of the government, this is employment. 15,000 people per casino.
Yes.
This is income for the people, by employment, through employment, income for the city. There were three casinos, so 45,000. That's 45,000 Parañaqueños employed. So it has a big impact on the economy of the city, and we said that there's no prostitution here. It's not part of the legality of the casino. So by being friendly, more investors expanded their operations here in Parañaque. One of them is the huge malls that you find around Parañaque. Other malls also cropped up. So there's more employment, more income for the city.
many businesses moved to Parañaque during ASEC June's term
Oh.
because it was like very easy to do business, really. In 30 minutes or half day, you get your business permit. We don't delay. We encourage businesses because that's part of the transformation. There will be livelihood. And one thing I remember, the salaries of the employees were increased 4 times
In City Hall.
in City Hall. So they are so thankful and loyal. And I think that also inspired them to work double time, no? And do services. That's why you see them smiling.
And no more asking.
No more asking, no more asking. It was coupled with us also reminding them, why do you have to ask people? You just ask from God. Because God will give you more, providing them an alternative instead of doing their usual gimmick. Now you have an alternative because God said, ask and you shall receive. So that helped out.
We also taught them about urban gardening.
Oh yes, yes.
Urban gardening. These are the ones living in the informal settlement. So we had a contest. But what was important was they learned how to grow vegetables, food
Yes.
in a very limited space and on pots that is hanging.
Mhm.
So there were nice vegetables that were presented to us, showed us in an
Yeah.
exhibit that they were very happy because they didn't have to buy.
Awards, we had the Galipo Award.
Best,
Awards.
I was awarded as the
Outstanding,
city
yeah,
mayor.
city mayor, and it was good to be
2006.
yes.
2006.
That was like 2 years after you assumed office. Instantly from the negative 1 billion,
Oh.
it was a huge turnaround. The income grew to 4 billion. So that was,
I may show you this award was given to me by the Department of Education when I was mayor for building 8 schools.
yes, yes, that's
Yes.
right, yeah.
8 schools, including the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Parañaque campus. And then, if I may, also, one of the awards that given to me was this meter by Maynilad.
Oh yes, yes.
Maynilad for helping Parañaque, to come to Parañaque and improve the water service in Parañaque, especially in the villages where they really had none. They really had no water supply. In my last term, I got a huge vote.
Yes.
Especially from the subdivisions because of the water,
Yeah.
water supply. No more hardship.
Yeah,
So thank God, I said, it has to be livable.
yeah.
The city has to be livable. So it was a big problem, housing for the people living in the, tawag natin doon is informal settlements. In partnership with Gawad Kalinga and Couples for Christ,
Yes.
we were able to build 32 villages for them, no? with an average of about 100 units or houses per village. It's 3,000 families. No?
Yeah.
The good thing about this is that Gawad Kalinga and Couples for Christ were soliciting donations for housing materials. So they get the housing material for free. Free. And the labor comes from them, from the beneficiaries. So that's less out-of-pocket expenses. They only have to pay for the land, which is very, very low. Say 400 pesos monthly for the rest of their lives.
Lives.
So,
Very
say
affordable.
4
Yeah.
years to pay, all very affordable. So we haven't even connected, we haven't started, they or us didn't start collecting from those beneficiaries and not being collected until now. Pang libre na, no? Libre na, no? So libre na yung bahay at lote nila.
Oh.
So yun ang
Yeah.
maganda.
And even those living under the bridges, Coylee, they have been relocated well, and many have graduated from high school and colleges. Those were really a major change in the city that inspired the young people. Laking bagay talaga yung development.
The schools.
And the tertiary education with TUP, so they now can go to college. I think we are one of the pioneers dyan sa free college education.
Meron pa I had one scholar, she graduated, she's from the former settler area. She graduated mechanical engineering. She topped the board. And then when she got married, she was asked by, and she got employed here in the Philippines. She was assigned in the US. I was so proud of that.
Yeah.
Her name is Joanne Hala.
And now we're joined by engineer Alan Nepasina.
So I was the one in charge of all the projects of the then Mayor Parañaque, including the school buildings, all the improvement on the roads, health centers, daycare centers, basketball courts, housing projects of the mayor, including the Bahay Kalinga.
And Bahay Pangarap.
Yes, it's one of them, na Bahay Pangarap. Or nakakalimutan mo na boss ha, ang dami yan. Yung galing sa PEA na binigay na lote. And we have our own batching plan. We made our own asphalt. Ano po yan, vision ni Mayor na gano'n siya mag-isip. So marami pa kaming mga lupa, housing, from PEA boss, yung sa may reclamation, bulungan.
Peaceport.
Opo.
So, half hectare yun.
So we also have po yung mga high-tech na heavy equipment at that time. We have the spider dredging machine na bumababa po siya dun sa creek. Hindi siya gumugulong, gumagapang siya parang spiders. Binahaman po kami pero mabilis pong bumababa ang tubig sa amin. We have yung mga equipment, drum trucks and everything po. Ang pinaka-importante po, Mayor Bernabe is the architect of the entertainment city. Ngayon ho, yan ho ang pinakikinabangan nila. Yan po ang pinakamalaking, one of the, if not the biggest source of income of Parañaque. It was because of Mayor June.
And more kasi they're building more buildings there.
Yes.
And continuous po kasi
Yes,
ang
yes.
pagtatayo nila.
That's 800 hectare area. According to Chairman Henvino.
You know, this moving story of Parañaque gives us hope that what God has done in Parañaque, God can do for the Philippines. No?
Definitely.
ASEC, I think the Lord has placed you in a very strategic position here in the PNLG.
Definitely. Yes, agree. Totally agree. Because the experience, the expertise, and the heart of ASEC June is to really help improve the livelihood of people, the living conditions. In fact, I remember ASEC June, he said he joined politics because he wanted to improve the condition of Parañaque River. That's how it started. It really starts from the heart. That's what they said, the heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. So with that heart to help people, help the city, and improve, that's a major thing we need for our government servants, public servants.
Talking about the strategic assignment here in the ILG, you're right, no? Because I would like to bring up the digitalization advocacy of mine, no? Where in Parañaque, we started digitalization and ended up with a quadruple
Yeah.
income for the city. And I want that replicated in all the cities, towns, or municipalities. So that each town, city could generate more income for the city. And you know, when you have more income, like any other family,
That's
like you have
right.
more money to spend for other programs and projects. So that's good for the city and collectively good for the country.
Yes.
In line with that, you also did
Tax mapping.
Tax mapping.
Tax mapping.
So
We identify the taxpayers,
Oh.
like the businesses,
and
the
real
real
estate.
properties. So you send them reminders that this is the obligation, this is the law. Basic lang naman just basic tax payment.
Oh.
And that increased it. Our income increased without increasing the rates, tax rates. No? It was just a improvement on the collection efficiency. So yeah, they can do all of that.
It happen all around the country. It can happen
It
everywhere.
can, yes, definitely. It can, if they follow the formula, as a
Yes,
John.
especially if they find out that the money they spend is, here's the 10-story building that I built from your taxes. These are the schools that I use your money from. These are the hospital that gives you free medical service. So, happy sila.
Yeah, and that has inspired many other cities, Coylee.
So do you think you're going to do that here at the IIG?
Well, we're trying. Already spoke with several mayors, and I encourage them to. The mere fact that I tell them that this is a first-time experience, I quadrupled my income by digitalization.
So you're going to share also your secret weapon.
Yeah. I'm not stingy. I like them to improve their cities.
And that you're going to tell them you did it because you had a powerhouse of prayer behind you.
Yes, so I will recommend that.
Oh.
That have a group that will really help you pray to God. Pray to God that everything you do is for the good of the people, for the common good, and for the glory of God.